Sorry about that, folks. I had forgotten to put my headphones on, so I was getting feedback through my speakers, so. Oh, it sounds like I might have a bit of an echo or a delay. Just give me a second, see if I've got a stray audio source going here somewhere. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Little growing pains. This is my first official live stream. I thought I had all this solved in testing, but stuff happens. Well, I really hope I'm not getting an echo. I won't know until after I check the recording. Yeah, I think I'm just getting a delay, kind of messing with my head a little bit. So if I do some weird pauses now and then, please bear with me. So since this is my first time live streaming, especially on some of these platforms, because we're coming to you on 3. Okay, wearing those headphones is going to really mess me up with the delay in my ears. Okay, so since this is kind of new for me, doing this live stream stuff on my own, let's give you a little bit of a short synopsis of what this is all about. So I've been on this diet, this carnivore diet, which is all meat diet, no veggies, no fruits, nothing but meat. And I used to eat some eggs, but I don't eat them anymore. And why did I do this? Well, I was sick for many, many years. I was bedridden for 10 years. I've got several serious autoimmune diseases. I won't get into too big a detail. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've got some videos where I talk more about kind of my backstory, a little more detail. Suffice it to say that about 9.5 months ago, I started the carnivore diet, and things happened very quickly. Initially, I started it because my weight loss had stalled. I'd been doing keto before that, and it just took a while to realize that I wasn't going to get any further on keto. Just got stuck for about almost 3 months, and found this diet. And within days, my weight loss restarted. And then a curious side effect, within a few weeks, all my autoimmune diseases were going into remission. And I was on carnivore about a month when I was completely taken off of the rest of my medications by my neurologist. Well, the medications for my autoimmune stuff. There were still a couple prescriptions I had from my family doctor, but I went off those a few days later. So at the height of my sickness, when I was bedridden, I was taking 19 prescriptions. Now I'm medication free. The worst of the autoimmune diseases I have is something called myasthenia gravis. I actually had it for a little while as a kid, when I was like 12 or 13. And we went to a doctor, naturopathic doctor, down on Vancouver Island, and he did some treatment. I don't remember what it was. I remember taking lots of supplements and a very restrictive diet, but I don't really remember much beyond that. But about 6 months of treatment under him, and I was in full remission, and I stayed in remission for almost 30 years. But when I got it again, it came back with a vengeance. And for those of you who don't know, myasthenia gravis causes severe muscle weakness, which was part of the reason I was bedridden. The other part being I had some serious issues with my back, deteriorated discs. Basically, 3 of them were all pretty much completely gone. And so some of the medication I was on was some pretty powerful painkillers, morphine, that kind of thing. But finally got off the morphine and started getting off the painkillers and went on to keto, lost a bunch of weight, put a bunch back on because I went off the diet, got depressed, started eating stuff I shouldn't. That was the keto diet. And then I went back on the keto diet about a year and a half ago, I guess, over a year and a half ago. Then start January 16th, 2023, I started carnivore. And the changes have been absolutely amazing. But I'm not really here to talk about all the amazing positive changes I've had. I mean, we'll touch on it a bit, but that's not really the main point of today's stream. What I wanted to talk to you about today was stress. Now, some of you know that we moved at the end of August. So we left my wheelchair accessible apartment. We no longer needed it. And we moved into a regular place, and it's much nicer setup. If any of you have seen my older videos, you know I used to have shelves full of junk all around behind me. So we've got a much nicer setup and layout here. So I was able to set up something that makes for a pretty nice YouTube studio, which I'm pretty happy about. But with the back issues that I've got, I had some kind of re-injury things that happened during the move before we did the big move day. I've been moving some other stuff and packing some heavier boxes that maybe I shouldn't have. So come the big moving day, I wasn't very useful. Basically, I directed traffic, watched everybody else do the work. But, you know, over the next few days, I was still trying to lift stuff around. I moved a big 4-drawer high steel filing cabinet. It was empty, but it's still really heavy. It's thick gauge steel. I moved it by myself. I just wanted to get it in place and get stuff, you know, unpacking, get my office rebuilt. And there was a big box I took down off the top of the fridge. It was way heavier than expected. I didn't realize what was in it. I pulled a muscle in my back. So between just the, you know, the pressure of getting all the stuff done for the move and the packing and organizing, you know, changes of address, and we were also changing banks at the same time, and just, you know, all this stress coming from all these different directions, and I was in so much pain, and I let the stress get to me. I just, you know, I've got some good techniques for meditation and sound therapy and that kind of thing, but it was too much, and I wasn't really trying to concentrate on those types of things like I should have been. It kind of, that extra stress actually reversed some of the successes I've had on the carnivore diet. Now, luckily, it didn't cause my myasthenia gravis to spike, but it caused quite a few of my other symptoms to come back temporarily. I'm a lot better now. Just the last few days, like the last 5 days, I've been feeling a lot better. I had to go back and use a little bit of pain medication there for the last couple of months, but I just finished off the last of that today and don't plan on getting that anymore. I think I'm good now. And in many ways, my back is stronger now, having gone through all of that. But it really brought home to me how much stress affects our health, even when we're eating a carnivore diet. Now, one thing that I noticed once we moved, normally I eat OMAD, or one meal a day. But I noticed that after doing all the hard work and stuff before the move, doing all the packing up and whatnot, I started craving and getting like massively hungry later in the day, like mid-afternoon, which I normally never did. Normally on OMAD, I don't get hungry again until, I eat at 5 or 6 in the morning and I don't get hungry until 5 or 6 at night. And it's only a little bit, just a little hunger and doesn't really bother me. But, this whole 2 months around the move period, I was just craving the extra meals. And some days I ate twice, sometimes 3 times. But I noticed that anytime I increased my food intake, my healing speeded up a little bit. And it still took a while, though, to get to where I could start dealing with the stress. So, I started doing a little more praying, one of the things that I do, and a little more meditation, a little more relaxation therapy. And it all, it has an effect, but we definitely need to find some effective ways to deal with stress if we're going to maintain our health, even on the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet will make it a lot easier, but it's not a magic wand. It's not going to just fix everything if you don't take care of the little thing. And stress isn't such a little thing, unfortunately. So I don't know if I've got anybody viewing. I've got too many things to try and look at it all. But if any of you are watching, give me a shout in chat and I'll pop your chat up on screen if you like. Oh, I did see a couple of answers here. Ah, well, thank you, Midnight Carnivore. Thanks for coming by. And no echo on your end. That's fantastic. Yeah, the last, I was helping a friend / client setting up her live stream and thought I had everything working and we had a bad echo only when I talked. So I was afraid that that was happening here. So if any of you have any questions about other stuff that I do, some of my cooking videos, what do I eat in a day, that kind of a thing, I'm certainly open to answering any questions if anybody has any. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits, since we talked a little bit about it. So I've got, since I started losing weight, now this is not all on carnivore, so just to be clear and transparent. So my starting weight was 540 pounds. I got down to 390, or actually 391 on keto. So that's where I started with carnivore. And now I'm at 215, or sorry, 315 pounds. I wrote it down here wrong for some reason. So, 215 is kind of closer to my ideal. But Yeah, I mean, I've lost over 18 inches off my waist, and I used to have really bad GERD, which is gone now. My GERD was so bad, it literally, the gas that was coming up, it was mostly because of the myasthenia gravis. The muscles weren't properly closing at the bottom of the throat. So the acid gas was coming up and it started literally melting my teeth. So I've got false teeth, top and bottom. And that was, once I started putting the autoimmune stuff into remission, no more problems with that. I used to get nasty, nasty cramps. Sometimes I'd be rolling on the ground in pain for 20, 30 minutes. Some of the cramping episodes that I had. A lot of that went away when I got off of gluten back when I started back on keto, or a little bit before I started back on keto. That helped a fair bit, but I still got occasional cramps. And actually, when I tried eating pickled eggs here about 3 weeks ago, it started giving me those kind of cramps. That's why I'll no longer touch eggs again. I don't know if it was because of them being pickled, some of the pickling spices or something. I'm not exactly sure, but that's just kind of the way it worked in this case. One of the big things that I discovered, even though I've got still some serious issues with my back, the actual discs that had deteriorated uh, have regenerated. So the last scan that I had in 2019, that was a CT scan, and they were showing that they were basically gone. At that point, they were talking about when I lost enough weight, I was looking at fusion surgery, probably 4 or 5 vertebrae being fused together. And when I got my MRI last July, they were all back. They were completely normal, but they found something else. So the osteoarthritis, which I've also got, which is another autoimmune disease, over the years I did a lot of damage. So it actually created some bumpy areas where the nerves have to go in between. And so it causes irritation and swelling and inflammation, that kind of thing. I'm still looking at surgery. It's just nowhere near as serious. See what else? Oh, yes. I've got bipolar, and I was diagnosed with it when I was 19 and had all kinds of, bouts of, dealing with massive depression, a couple suicide attempts in there. It wasn't the worst bipolar, but it was significant, especially when I didn't take my medication. When I was first diagnosed, they had me in a hospital for 3 months while they got the medications figured out. But I really didn't like what they did to me, so I stayed on them for about a year, and just never went back on them. So I used to have some pretty long bouts of deep depression, and followed sometimes by a few days or a week or two of real mania. Back when I was diagnosed, they didn't even call it bipolar; it was called manic depression. But I'll say that after I started carnivore, I noticed it was getting a little better. I wasn't getting a serious depression. And then I noticed that at about 4 months, the symptoms were pretty much gone. But this kind of leads back into this stress thing because that a little bit of the bipolar symptoms came back with the stress. And, I was kind of dealing with some pretty deep depression there for about 6 weeks. Uh, Luckily, a couple of weeks ago, it kind of started to lift, and I'm definitely feeling a lot better these days. Uh, see, what are some of the other things I've noticed? I also discovered, like a couple of years ago, I think, or a year and a half ago, something like that, that I'm on the autism spectrum. I've actually got Asperger's, and I've noticed that a lot of the OCD stuff that I had that was pretty annoying to myself and others around me. Those symptoms are reduced about 75%. since being on carnivore. So that's pretty significant. I've also noticed my hair's been getting darker. If you look at some of my older photos, like if you go back onto my Facebook timeline, you look back at photos from, a couple of years ago, even all my hair was pretty much all this white that I've got right at the front. It's like beard here. And most of the mustache was white too. Same with the eyebrows. And everything's been slowly getting darker. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I noticed something else that was pretty interesting. I was just getting ready before I started carnivore to go. I was getting ready to make an appointment with the optometrist. I knew I needed new glasses. The glasses just weren't cutting it anymore. And about 3 months into carnivore, I suddenly realized, hey, I don't need new glasses anymore. And I started getting the odd time where I can actually work for an hour or two on the computer without my glasses. The first time it happened, it was really weird because everything was blurry all of a sudden. I couldn't figure out why. And I took my glasses off to clean them and everything cleared up. Now it's like, okay. So, I do that whenever I can. And, one of the other big things is, the mental fog that was slowly lifted on carnivore. Just that mental fog and an increase in mental acuity, I've noticed. Um, I'm able to study a lot better than I used to be able to. Speaking of studying, some of you know that I've been taking a course to become a certified wellness coach. And just to let you know, I haven't studied a lick since the move. It's just been, couldn't concentrate, too much pain and pain medication I've been taking and stuff. So not a happy camper as far as that goes, but hopefully I'm going to be able to get back into studying here in another week or so and get that tidied up. One of the other things that was a benefit for me for carnivore was the myasthenia gravis caused peripheral neuropathy in my feet. And at one point, I couldn't feel my feet except to feel burning pain. Like if something bumped my feet, that's the only sensation I got was burning pain. Other than that, I didn't feel them, when I touched something with them. But there was a level of pain there all the time. And that level of pain that was there all the time is completely gone. And there's actually parts of my feet that are starting to recover. I'm getting feeling back in some areas of the feet. And that's pretty huge for me. The other thing that's gotten a lot better is my asthma. Now, I did start having a little bit of issues with it. Once again, brought on by the stress, I'm pretty sure. But it's gone away. And, some of my skin conditions were coming back. Excuse me. Some of those skin conditions were coming back. They're fairly bad there for a couple of weeks. But once I started eating more meat during the day, that started going away fairly quickly. It healed up reasonably fast. One of the other big benefits of carnivore was my blood pressure had gotten really out of hand. I had readings as high, like they put me on one of those machines where they hook you up. You hang it off your shoulder and keep it on for a week, and then measure your blood pressure every 15 to 30 minutes. And they had a reading as high as 216 over 175, which I'm lucky to be alive, I think. And you put me on blood pressure medication, and we brought it down a bit. I got it to where I was hovering around 160 over 110, that range. And I noticed after being on carnivore about a month that my blood pressure was coming down a lot lower. So I went off the blood pressure medication. And we've got our own blood pressure machine, so I was checking a couple times a day there after I went off the medication for a month. And now I'm getting numbers that are averaging around 120 over 72. Fantastic. And I was pre-diabetic before starting carnivore. Even on the keto, I was still pre-diabetic. My A1C had gone down a little bit on keto, but it was still, before keto, I was 6.1, 6.2. And then after being on keto for a while, I hit about 5.7. And then once I went on carnivore, then I went down to 5.3. And that's completely normal. So I'll just touch on real quick. There's quite a few health issues that I've dealt with over the years, and most of which are going away or gone. So the major autoimmune diseases that I deal with are myasthenia gravis. So that I hit remission at about 4 weeks in. Osteoarthritis, that my joints stopped hurting and the swelling went away after about 2 weeks. The ankylosing spondylitis, um, there was some really nasty pains I would get right in the middle of my back where it was trying to do the most twisting and curving. And that, I still get it occasionally, but it's not like a constant thing like it used to be. It's definitely gotten a lot better. And I've also got something called Sjogren's. And to be perfectly honest, I've been going through so much medical information the last while, I couldn't even remember the definition for Sjogren's. I suppose I could look it up, but um, it's another disease that affects the back and causes issues. And I've also got stenosis in my neck, cervical stenosis. And yeah, it actually it pinches the nerves and causes some numbness, fingers, right hand here. But that has been slowly improving, very slowly. But I don't know if it's going to get much better until I actually go in for surgery. I'm probably looking at 2, maybe 3 back surgeries. And once I've gotten some more weight off, then I'm probably looking at 3 or 4 skin removal surgeries. And then the 3 minor autoimmune diseases I've got are psoriasis, which is like right at this minute, it's about 95, 96% gone. The seborrhea, about 90% gone. It's fading fast. They'd gotten kind of bad there for a little bit after the move, and eczema. I had written down here that it's like 95% gone, but I was actually looking at my arm here again, and I realized no, it's pretty much like 99% gone. There's nothing left there anymore. So now I'm not going to. Yeah, you're 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 right on the money. I'm really lucky that I didn't have a stroke with that blood pressure. My doctor was pretty concerned, but yeah, that's a good observation there, midlife carnivore. And I just wanted to give a shout out to you're watching the live stream on YouTube. Thank you very much. Oh, so like yeah, I was talking about the other some of the other health issues that I've got. I'm not going to get into all the minutia, but we've talked about the major stuff here. And I'm not going to sit here and try and blow smoke and tell you that everything's been perfectly rosy and onward and upward ever since I started carnivore. I mean, that's just not true. I mean, the health benefits have been incredible. The improvements I've made have been pretty stunning. But I certainly have my bad days. Recently, the bad couple of months. So I feel like I'm back on track. Those of you who've been following me for a while, I've been working on dealing with my thyroid. So when it was getting really bad there, I was starting to put a little bit of weight back on. Now I'm just kind of holding steady, kind of hovering up and down. Oh, hi there, Dwayne. Good to see you. And you're on YouTube as well. Yeah, I've known Dwayne since I was a little kid. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, you'll have to go back and watch. You've missed most of what I was talking about there, Dwayne. I was kind of going over all the benefits I've had from carnivore diet. Um, if any of you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Now, I will say that I'm not going to be one who tells you that everybody should be on the carnivore diet. I don't think it's necessary for everyone. Everyone could do it and be healthy doing it. I have no doubt about that. There's literally hundreds of thousands of us healing all kinds of autoimmune diseases and chronic disease. Even things like MS and cancer usually can be gotten rid of with the carnivore diet and some other techniques. One of the common protocols that people are using that have terminal cancer, they'll go on a water-only fast for 21 days. And then when they start eating again, they start with some bone broth and that kind of thing. And then they go full carnivore after a few days. And usually within that 21-day fast, they get up to a 50% reduction. And I think one of the smallest reductions I heard about was about 25% in tumor size. And then usually within a few months, they're completely in remission. All signs of it gone. And multiple sclerosis, same thing. This diet can help Huntington's and Hodgkin's and all kinds of weird diseases that have seemed to come out of nowhere in the last 100 years respond really well. Oh, it's great to hear that you're on carnivore, Dwayne. Oh, 2 months, right on. Yeah, I've been carnivore since January 16th. So I've been doing this 9.5 months. So 16th of this month, it'll be 10 months. Yeah, I remember talking to your mom about the carnivore diet and that you've been wanting to do it for a while, but life circumstances kind of made it a little an issue. Yes, definitely. Thank you, midlife. Definitely. Congratulations, Dwayne. Yeah, like I was saying, the diet isn't necessarily for everyone, but and probably shouldn't be for everyone. Um, you know, there are some other good foods out there that you can eat, um, and people do well on them. But foods that you absolutely have to stay away from are processed foods. Any type of processed or ultra processed foods, refined sugars. Sugar actually affects the same addiction centers of the brain as cocaine, opioids, and kind of thing. And uh, certain types of sugar, like the what's it called, the fructose, that super concentrated fructose, it actually has twice the effect on the brain that regular sugar does, which is why you find it in so many foods. A lot of the companies that are putting sugar in absolutely everything, used to own tobacco companies. They understand addiction very well, and they use it against us. So you need to stay away from, seed oils and hydrogenated oils and most vegetables. There are some plants that are medicinally useful, and I use some plant medicines myself, and they work very well. But by and large, plants are trying to kill you. One example I like to give that was pointed out by Dr. Chafee is Brussels sprouts. They did some testing and they discovered that Brussels sprouts have 136 known human carcinogens. In other words, they can cause cancer in humans. Um, well, midlife, my one doctor has been supportive. My neurologist has been quite supportive. And she's great. She trained under one of the best myasthenia gravis specialists in the world. Uh, she did she did a great job, and she worked with me, and she'll even steer people towards getting information from me if nothing else is working for them and they specifically ask her for help. And she sends them my way. Now, my family doctor, I get a lot of pushback from him. I'm constantly having arguments with him, but he can't deny the results. But he won't look at modern current research on the carnivore diet. He just won't. And he says his hands are kind of tied. He says they've got a guide from the Alberta Medical Association, and he has to work within that guide, and he's not allowed to color outside the lines, even if he knows it's right. So he just prefers not to look, which is really unfortunate. Oh, Dwayne, I'm sorry to hear about that. So, but I mean, the healing isn't going to happen overnight. I mean, you didn't get sick overnight. It took a lot of years of eating a standard American diet to cause all those health issues. So just hang in there. It does get better, and it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah, I was very lucky in getting my current neurologist. The neurologist I had before her, the guy that she trained under, he's like absolutely against any type of alternative medicines or doing things that aren't exactly according to what the medical profession thinks should be done. So he fired me and turned me over to her, and it was the best thing he could have done for me. So, oh yes, very good comment. Midlife. Oh, I'm going to have to adjust the position. That's not coming up exactly where I want it. That's cutting some of it off. But this first day I've been using this tool to highlight incoming chats on my unified chat bot. So bear with me. But yeah, you're right. It seems that more and more of the medical profession in the field of neurology and a few in diabetic research as well are really starting to come around to keto, carnivore. And I know I've got a niece I've been trying to talk into going carnivore for a while. She's had epilepsy since she was a kid, and it got really, really bad there for a while. They took them a lot of time to get it kind of somewhat under control. And chances are about 90% that it would all go away if she went carnivore. But unfortunately, people have been so indoctrinated by what we're taught in school growing up as what's supposed to be healthy that we have no idea until we start really studying this kind of stuff just how bad most modern foods are. If you actually look at the rise in the use of sugar and the dropping in the use of red meat and fat, and you look at the use of processed foods and grains and seed oils, and you mark that into a curve. I've actually got a couple of videos on my channel that show this. If you look at that curve and then compare it to the rise in obesity and chronic disease and autoimmune disease and diabetes and heart disease, that kind of thing, they're like in lockstep. They match almost perfectly. Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good observation. Their midlife, yeah, they're definitely really always trying to convince people that they got to have fiber. I know I got in the craziest argument a while back with somebody on Twitter that was telling me that he was convinced I was going to have scurvy, and I was trying to show him the facts and explain it to him, but he just wasn't interested in seeing it or hearing it. It was kind of funny. Oh, yeah, gastric surgery. I know I was looking at that for a while, and then they kicked me out of the program because they didn't think that I was going to do it. And they made my wife tell me. They wouldn't even do it themselves. I was pretty impressed. But I know my wife's on the list, and she had committed to doing carnivore a while ago, but she's been having some trouble sticking with it. She keeps going off the rails. So I don't know if she's going to wind up doing the gastric bypass or not. I certainly Hope not. Yeah, I'm telling you to eat more bread. Isn't that just insane? Just crazy. Yeah, yeah, good point. Midlife, yeah, about the fiber. Yeah, they're always trying to push fiber on us. And, you see this advice that diabetic doctors and clinics are giving their patients, oh, yeah, don't worry about sugar and carbs, just pump more insulin into you. You'll be fine. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Dwayne, you may, uh, I know Midlife was making a comment to Dwayne there. But I know Dwayne might know this person from where we used to live at one point. Guy by the name of John Bowlby. He's died a long time ago, but he had gastric bypass, and it worked for him for a while. But um, yeah, when he went off of it, that was kind of the end. He put more weight back on than he ever had. I think when he was at his worst, he was almost 600 pounds. So, um, oh, Dwayne, down 30 pounds. All right. That's fantastic. Doesn't it feel great to be able to start getting into some of those older clothes? Yeah, Dwayne remembers John. Yeah, him and my dad were best friends. And yeah, Dwayne probably remembers when one of John's sons committed suicide in their basement. That was a pretty bad time for everyone for a while. But, yeah, it's definitely been a crazy few years for me. But when you look at how bad my health was back in 2015 range, and that whole period of time in there, like I was officially re-diagnosed with the myasthenia in 2012. Yeah, it was pretty nasty. Yeah, and there's somebody else I remember, Dwayne. Yeah, Dora Wheat. Yeah, I remember she was so big the last time I remember seeing her. I hadn't heard about her dying from complications from the surgery though. That's that's really unfortunate. With gastric bypass, doctors view success at weight loss, but many people suffer from horrific heartburn they can't get rid of, constant pain. Yeah. Yeah, I mean there are so many nasty side effects from gastric bypass. And I mean granted it's has saved a lot of people's lives, but there are such easier solutions, when you can control this stuff with diet, you know, why would you want to use any other method? Why go through all the danger of heavy duty surgery like that? I've had some pretty serious surgeries in my life and almost didn't survive a couple of them. Yeah, I'm not real excited about going into surgery when I don't have to, but you know, there are some surgeries that are just really not that great and not that safe. So, one of the other things that I see people doing a lot of nowadays is taking that drug Ozempic. And man, the side effects from that Ozempic stuff is just terrible. You would not believe the stuff that it does to the stomach, and it makes you dependent on that drug for life, which is exactly what the pharmaceutical companies are after. They're not interested in curing people. They can't get financing from the banks to research cures. They can only get financing if they're researching treatment where they can make ongoing profits. And that came to light in the mid 70s. Nothing's changed. So, um, we have to look out for our own health. And something else that I think we all need to be cognizant of is there are powers out there that are trying to eliminate cattle. They're trying to outlaw it. They're trying to take away our meat from us because they know that's the answer, right? And if everybody goes carnivore, they're out of business. The medical establishment goes down, the pharmaceutical industry goes down, lots of doctors would not be making money anymore if most people were healthy. Oh, yes, midlife. Yeah. Yeah, their plans that they try and put people on are pretty sad. I mean, they know so little about actual real nutrition at those bariatric clinics. I mean, most doctors only get about 2 weeks of nutrition training in 7 or 8 years of medical school. Why is that? Well, because the pharmaceutical companies finance heavily. Most of the funding for those medical schools come from the pharmaceutical companies, so they get to, if they're paying for the music, they get to call the tune, right? So my oldest sister is on it and hasn't changed her eating. I'm afraid when she go, oh yeah, the Ozempic. Yeah. Yeah, I know a couple of people. Well, there's actually one person that lives in my building that's been on Ozempic for a while. She's lost a ton of weight, but now she's starting to have some serious side effects and issues with her stomach. Yeah. Yeah, going on any type of medication, it should only be a temporary solution, because, don't get me wrong, I'm against most medications that the big pharma pushes, but some medications are useful when used on a temporary basis. I don't think any medication should be used long term when there's other solutions available. Yeah, midlife. I guess it depends on the country they're in. From what I've been told from other doctors that I know, or that I've heard talk about it, the average doctor that's